Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to touch it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not a second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else out there in YouTube land. Welcome to the Virtual World Sports Car Championship Round 2, live from Qatar. I am James Papa, going to be joined in the booth by Bradley Dalton, and we've got, of course, the wonderful Mr. Paul Glover in the background on production, bringing us all of this action here today. Going to be absolutely incredible. We can take a quick look at the track, of course, here in Qatar. It's not everybody's favorite circuit, let's put it that way. And at the end of the day, it is what it is, but the track itself, 5.42 kilometers or 3.37 miles, purpose-built in 2004 and 16 corners on the track. You can look at the orange zone and think, James, what is the orange zone? Well, it means the orange zone that you can overtake, but any penalties or mistakes or crashes or incidents you cause during that orange zone will be a lot worse than normal. So they've got to remember to make sure that if they are going to cause incidents, it's going to be out of that orange zone. The calendar itself, let's go through that, of course. On the 20th of January, we did run the 2.4 hours of Daytona. We've got the Qatar 100 minutes. Then we're on for the 120 minutes of Sebring in round 3 on March 23rd. 90 minutes of Imola on April the 6th. And then 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps on April 27th. The 4.8 hours of Le Mans on June the 8th. Then we go to the 60 laps of the Glen, 90 minutes of Interlagos, 90 minutes of Kota, 90 minutes of Fuji, and then we've got the Indy 100. 100 laps of Road Atlanta follow that. And then we finish off the season with 2 hours of Bahrain. So that's going to be an interesting one. The challenges here today, of course, as always, will be tyre conservation. They've got to remember to get the tyres right because it is a very tough track on tyre wear. They've got to be consistent, and on the bottom there is don't get lost. Now, we've seen a lot of people not loving this circuit, and I've seen people get lost on racetracks before, so it'd be interesting to see if that one actually happens, because I think, to be fair, that would be quite amusing itself. Let's pick up on the standings at the moment for the hypercars, of course. Oh, we'll have a quick look at the tyres first, sorry. For the hypercars, it's medium hards and the wets, but of course we're in the desert, so I don't know if it's going to be raining. I probably doubt it. In the GTs, it's just medium and wets here this evening that they've got to contend with. So that's their tyre choices. In the hypercar scoring here as well, not quite sure what that one is, but Dan Kirby is out in front on 45 points with Daniel Herlock on 32, with Mike Bell on 32 as well. Tom Lane on 27 with Ernest Balnaldo on 27, then Timon Subic 21. Jascha Schmidt on 17 and Michael Dinu on 17, and Wouter de Bruin on 14 with Bradley Sellers on 14 as well. Then below that, we've got Adrian Rice and Micah Locke, Brian Hall, Oliver Newman, Magnus Dahlgren, Sebring and Austin Birchfield, the last of the scorers. In the team standard, Smile Power Racing out in front on 64 with Mantle Squid LM Porsche on 54. CMS Pros in the Isotta Fraschini's on 45. Aerolab Esports on 34. Team Rookie Monsters 28. SKS Motorsport Acura on 21. And then behind that, you've got Crown Dental Group on 8 with Joy Motorsports Alpine on 3. Emmy Racing Lamborghini. And then the Ferrari American Racing boys there behind them as well. In the Hypercar AMS, well, this is a shock when I started it up and had a look. It's George Angelidis out in front there, tied with Felipe Dicardi on 45 points. Gwilym Benck on 32. Benjamin Porteous Heath on 27. Eric Monet on 21 with Jerry Chen on 21. Norm Graff in 7th with Adam Gray 8th. Craig Pullen, Peter Stafini, Tom Mountjoy, Maximilian Petrovsky, Vinicius Concalves rounding out the 13. In the team standards, HRC US Acura ARX 06. That's a long old team name. On 90 points. Then we've got Acura Mistral Porsche 963 on 42. Total Lion Sports Cadillac V Series on 32. Reptile Racing on 28. Mike Bell Motorsports on 27. And then Hardtail Racing Porsche 963. In the LMGT3s here as well, you can see currently at the moment, Alicio Neto is out in front on 45 with David Yunt on 32. JT Tammy and Matthew Overton tied on 27. Carl Vesser, Brandon Gant on 21. Joe Wicks on 17. Ross Smith on 14 with Robert Strachan. Johnny Gutierrez in 10th. Gilles Lalonde, Stuart Bird, Yuki Takanashi, Dave Kors, Vasilis Kataranakis, Sasha Sobers, and Oli Cargilanti at the bottom. In the team start, Thunder Racing out in front on 54, then XRL Esports on 45, Sim Racing Alliance on 42, Black Hawk Racing on 32, Stardust Autosport on 28, Bad Day Racing on 22, SB Racing on 17, Fucago on 16, and then Team Pazuzu on 3, and then SHQM on 1 with Car Beer Racing on 1 as well. In the LMGT3 AMS here once more, we've got Stephen Miller out in front with Josh Lepetri, then Stephen Buse, Matt Buse, James Bowders, Felipe Marazzi, and Carl Strohel. In the team standing, Speed Details are in front on 90 with Trash Panda Corvette on 64, and then Red Weasel Racing Porsche in the 911 on 27. You have listened to me waffle on more than enough now that I'm going to bring in Brad here and have a chat with Brad. Brad, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Hey, James, I'm doing good. It's good afternoon for me. It's a good evening for you. And no matter where you're at in the world, it's always a good time when VWSC shows up to bring you another round. I hate that we have to wait a month between rounds for round 1 to round 2. But hey, I like it. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, it drives me crazy, but that unfortunately is just the calendar. There's not a lot we could have done with that. I did protest for every week, but didn't really happen for me. So unfortunately, we'll have to deal with it in this month apart here. Qatar. An interesting circuit, not one that everybody loves, Brad. I think that's the thing for some people, isn't it? Qatar itself, it's been deemed as boring. It's been deemed as nothing there. It's just one of them ones that are meh. You know what I mean? But we're hoping that we should see good racing out of these guys this evening.
Yeah, it's a $58 million US track that was built in 2004. And it was originally designed for motorcycle racing. And then they converted it, and the FIA saw it and said, hey, we could try this. But my issue with the track is it's just flat. It's just boring. It's just constant something. It's very rough on the drivers to keep up. The don't get lost in the keys to today's race. I know that's funny to some people, but genuinely that is a concern for some of these drivers. If you spin or something comes up, you can genuinely end up going the wrong way or just be lost at where you're at on the track. Because the corners just keep coming, and the only time you really get breathing room is that main straight that you see on the right-hand side of your screen from 16 to 1. That's the only time these drivers really get to breathe. Otherwise, it is just constantly something going on.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me, I was driving our Factor the other day, right? And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to have a go at this. I've got to be able to, you know, drive our Factor. And I was it was just like a rookie thing. And I was literally it was a Formula something or rather. And I spun the car. And do you know what? By the time I finished spinning, I had no direction of what I was pointing in, to the point I actually went the wrong way and got disqualified through quali because I went out the pit lane the wrong way. Because I just couldn't, I didn't have a clue. I lost all disorientation of where I was going and ended up going the complete wrong way. Now, I'm sure these guys aren't going to do my silly mistake that I did, of course, and obviously we've got one of them in the booth with us as always. Mr. Smith is here to tell us absolutely nothing about next season, give us no tidbits whatsoever, but he can tell us what's going on with this season. Ross, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Your dulcry tones in the booth, Ross. How's it going there, buddy?
In general, okay. For the race today, it's going to be... we're just going to try and keep from having to use this puke pail next to me. But other than that, you know, yeah, it's good. Good.
You're going to love this track, aren't you? Are you a supporter of this circuit?
You know, I've said that there aren't any bad tracks.
Right.
This circuit tests that statement pretty severely.
I had a funny feeling it was going there, but I thought I'd put it in there and just see what you would say. But tell us about it. What is going on with the circuit, right? We know it wasn't your choice. I did try and blame you earlier, and you said, hey, it wasn't me, it was George. So why are we here at a circuit purposely built for motorbikes that is in the middle of a desert, in the middle of nowhere, and doesn't really have a lot of anything to it? Tell us about it. Why are we here, Ross?
Well, it's very simple. It's because this is where WEC is going, and VWSC follows the WEC as closely as possible, plus the Michelin Endurance Championship rounds. And that's why we're here. That is the only reason we're here, is because we're doing everything we can to make sure that at CMS you're getting an experience that is as close to the spirit of that top level sports car endurance racing that you can get. So that's it.
Well, judging by that, then, if we're going to look at that, you might as well just go to Snetterton, because it might have been a little bit more exciting.
I love Snetterton.
I love Snetterton as well. It's great. The thing for me, that's the problem, right? And obviously, you know, I run leagues, as you know, and there's so many people tell me so many times, follow the official, but some of the tracks are just boring. And I end up changing them out, like Spa's on there every time, Sebring's on there every time, you know, and a couple of others. And I just basically think, I'm not, and Spa is boring, as I've just been told in the background there as well, that apparently it is boring. Especially if you're trying to do it in an FF Formula 4 that takes about 3 minutes per lap, it's boring. So why didn't you change it out? Why didn't you go to George and say, hey, come on, do we have to do this?
You've worked with George, so you know what that kind of thing is like. You're not going to change his mind on it. He is a huge fan, and this is his vision for where VWSC needs to go. So we support it by being here. Obviously, not as many people here as were originally signed up. There were a few drivers, including my co-drivers, who had some other obligations that took them away. But, I think that there were probably a small population in that group that just did not want to be here because they came on and said, wow, I feel like I'm driving the same 4 corners for about 10,000 times in a row before I make a lap.
Exactly, and I think that's the problem. You know, people have said there aren't any boring racetrack, and there is. I'm sorry, there is. The Hungaroring's another one. And if you've got racing going there, it is just, I remember doing a broadcast once with a producer in my ear, and and he just literally turned around and said to me, I've got nothing to show you. Nothing is happening. You're going to have to waffle. And that's what we had to do for about 45 minutes, waffle on, because nothing was going on. And people don't think that there's boring racetracks, but there is. And some of them, like this one, just looks the same, and every corner looks the same, and every part of the racetrack looks the same. So if you do spin, how are you going to know you're going to go back in the right direction, Ross?
Well, hopefully you would see where everyone else is, and I mean there are enough drivers around here that there eventually will be a car along to give you a hint. But as far as the way this track goes, I mean, getting spun off or running wide or something, you're less likely to have issues there. Realistically, it's more because you have very similar sequences between the sectors. Your mind kind of slips into an automatic response of like, oh, I need to go a little bit deeper in on this one, or I need to turn in a little sooner than this one. And if you kind of fall back on that immediate response and you're in the wrong spot, then it can really be detrimental to a corner. And as you can see, there are a lot of drivers that are very close to one another, and we're actually getting ready to go.
There we are. We've got practice is finished. The warm-up is done there. Well, Ross, all I can say is have a good one, bud. Let's hope you don't get lost. Make sure you go the same way as everybody else.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the other side, I guess.
Yeah, I can't move you, Ross. You're too high of a power for me. You'll have to do that yourself. But we'll hopefully catch up with you later on, buddy.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks, everyone.
No drama. Well, there you go, Brad. I don't know. We didn't get to touch on the mods, partly because we were talking too much about this as well. But let's see if we can get the grid up and running here and ready to go, because we will be able to give you the starting order once more here. So as you can see, currently it's William Snowden on front in the Peugeot 9X8 with Dan Kirby in second, Mikhail Dinu in third, and then Daniel Herlock is sitting in fourth place. On from that one, Ernest Bernardo in fifth and Timon Suvic in that Acura ARX in sixth. Tom Lane seventh with De Bruyne in eighth, of course. And then behind that, we have got Donald Hunter in ninth with Magnus Dolger in 10th, Jerry Chen 11th, and then Cameron Barker down in 12th place. Moving on once more, we've got Tony McCoffin in 13th, John Meyer 14th, John Uyan sitting down in 15th place, and then behind that is Michael Locke in the Ferrari there as well. On from that, Jascha Schmidt in 17th, Alexander Schultz in 18th, Craig Pullen 19th, and George Angelidis is down in 20th place. On from there, Eric Monet in 21st, Benjamin Porteous-Heath in 22nd, Norm Graff down in 23rd, and Luke Goodlife down in 24th. Hopefully we won't get any singing from our producer this week. Gordon Beck in 25th, and Vinicius Concalves in 26th, Adam Gray down in 27th, and Peter Stefani down in 28th place. First of the GTs is JT Tammy in 29th, with Becky Ely down in 30th, David Junt in 31st, and Matt Boyce down in 32nd place. Johnny Gutierrez in 31st, 33rd, Adrian Rice in 34th, Brandon Gant in 35th, Ross Smith all the way down in 36th place. Wayne Galvan in 37th, Mike Bruce in 38th, Jos Lepetri down in 39th, and Stephen Boyce in 40th place there. On from that, you got Joe Wilkes in 41, Steve Miller in 42nd, Filippo Marazzi in 43, and Gilles Lalonde down in 44th. On from that, Vasilios Kataranakis, when I've got my dentures sat in properly, and James Bowden round out the end of the grid. Quite a lot of cars here as well, and we are going to be up and running very shortly to get this race going. It's going to be an exciting one here, Brad. We're on the pace lap at the moment. What do we think is going to happen?
Well, Orange Zone is through turn 5, so the first few corners, I think everyone's going to be a bit more relaxed, which is going to give everyone a little bit of time to breathe here. Once we hit turn 5, I do think it's all hands off. I think turn 6, not just because it's a hairpin 180 left-hander, but I do genuinely think turn 6 is going to be kind of the breaking point where we start to see some action. I think everyone's going to be real timid into the first couple of corners and just kind of hold their own. And then once we get out of the orange zone, I do think everybody's going to turn it up a notch. But of course, it is 100 minutes here in Qatar, so it's really just a case of everyone needs to survive it. As we come around, we're getting ready to get going with the hypercars here.
Yeah, Snowden out in front at the moment. He's going to be the pace car. He is the pace car. Is he going to bolt in that 9X8 or is Kirby going to go with him as well? Right about now, we are up and running. The Hypercars should be on their way, and it looks like they are currently at the moment. Will Snowden still leading them away. Go, 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 go! Here as well, and it's green, green, green in Qatar, and Dan Kirby makes the jump. No, he does. He does. Snowden goes off into the gravel. There's contact further down as well. There, unfortunately, there once again, I believe it was Snowden. William Snowden dropped down the field in that grey 9X8 there as he went side by side with Dan Kirby. Still some action taking place as well. What's going on in the GT3s? Are they up and running? JT Tammy's just about coming over the line, and they're going to be green once more as well. So JT Tammy leading them away with Becky Ely as they head down into turn 1 at the moment. Great job from all of these guys. Brandon Gant also getting through as well. He's trying to go side by side with Adrian Rice. They're both of them in the Mustang here, and they're battling on as well. But back up front, McCoffin and Maya and Uyan lead us away in 13th, 14th, but 15th with Dan Kirby in the lead here, Brad.
Yeah, Dan Kirby getting away well. I need to know what happened in turn 1 there to just send someone off straight. It looked like
they bumped
just
sides.
Completely, yeah. I was going to say completely missing a braking point, a little bit of contact probably, but overall, most people getting away there through turn 1 with no issues. You've got the GT3s with Tammy up in the lead, and then you have Kirby up in the lead for the Hypercars going away, and everybody's staying fairly close so far. I think everyone understands that this track is heavy on tires. This track is just going to wear you down, and over 100 minutes, you've got to just hold on to it. But 100 minutes really isn't that long of a race here in the world of the VWSC, though, because when you think about it, like, we have 4.8 hours of Le Mans coming up. That's going to be a true test of pace. 100 minutes here is just as much of a sprint as it could be. You know, this is going to be one of our shorter races of the season, so I think these guys are going to give it a little bit more as we go. Who knows? They're race car drivers. I'm just sitting in a booth talking.
Yeah, that's basically what we're here for as well. JT Tammy leading the way on the GT3s. Then we've got Becky Ely sat right behind him. Jun's not too far back from that. We've got a break of 3. Then we've got 2.5 to get Gutierrez, then Gant and Rice. In the GT3 AMS, they're already spread out quite a lot. Apart from LePetri and Buse, they're about 6 to 7 seconds apart at the moment. But JT Tammy there holding on with Becky Ely behind them. It's becoming a one sort of the closest battle on the track already, Brad, considering we're not very far in at all.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising to see that it's gotten down to this fast. We've only done 4 minutes in, so there's still plenty of time here for battles to develop, and of course everybody's going to have different strategies starting out. Looking at pit stop strategy, of course we're expecting Hypercars to make, I believe, 4 pit stops throughout this race, and then we're expecting the GTs to do 2 stops, possibly a splash and dash at the end. So I'm expecting to see things kind of accordion as we go, James. Kind of spread out, squeeze in, spread out, squeeze in. But overall, early on, you are starting to see those packs break out. It's those drivers that are probably a little bit more comfortable pushing early on, and their cars are just a little more compliant to that early push.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's a nice little tidy battle developing down in the Hypercars of Barker, Meyer, McCoffin, Uyan, with Dahlgren in there as well. They've just swapped to places a couple of times between them. And also Wouter de Bruin, Tom Lane, Hunter are also going at each other as well. So this battle still materializing through. Alicia Nero, unfortunately my GPU died this week and could not take part in the race. Sad times for you, dear sir. Hope everything's all right and you do get a replacement GPU for next time out, of course. It's a long old season, Brad. We go all the way through to November here with these guys, and it's tough waiting this period of time. I think it's because we saw the historics, and it was such good racing in the historics. It's tough to wait for another round of the historics.
Yeah, but that is the good thing about VWSC is that you've got the historics and you've got the modern series, and they kind of run opposite to each other, so it doesn't feel as long of a separation between races as it truly is. And you know, one of the things mirroring that real life calendar, you have to put that space in between races, but it does also allow time for something we haven't talked about, for the teams to work on the mods, for, you know, any sort of balance of power to be done. And it gives a little bit more breathing room for everyone to make sure that this is a long, very good championship top to bottom.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. Although we really don't want to be waiting that long, it does give us this sense of, you know, sort of patience, especially in my front there as well. I don't have a lot of it when it comes to racing, because I just love racing in general, and these guys are doing an absolutely stellar job here. So you can see on your screen at the moment some great battles developing here in the hypercar class as well, and it's great to see that these boys are still battling away once more there, with John Mayer in second place currently at the moment. He's in the Hypercar Arms, of course. He's battling away. That's McCoffinen in front of him. So Tony McCoffinen in front as well there. The track itself, though, Brad, 16 corners of, I don't want to say nothing, but 16 corners of very difficult racing.
16 corners that just come at you quickly. The laps here go very, very fast. Our leader has put in the fastest lap of a 1:44.9. That is Daniel Kirby. So think about that. 16 corners in a minute 45 that are just consistent left, right, left, right. You've got some triple right-handers in there, you know, because we have to have a triple right-hander at every purpose-built track now for some reason. But it is truly, it's a track that doesn't let you breathe. That main straight is all you get. And that is, I think, the true challenge of this track. Other than it's flat and it's desert, it's that you are always having to stay engaged. You constantly have to go apex to apex to apex. And if you miss one, it can genuinely offset your lap by 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to get it right. And as we saw there with, I believe that was Snowden at the beginning, we didn't quite get it right. And I think that's the thing, that they've got to make sure that they do try and make and bury every corner where possible, because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit of a nightmare for them here as well. So Jerry Chen battling away with Maya in the Hypercar Arms, and then in the GT3s, he's not allowing Tammy any form of break here as well. The Porsche 963, some great cars on circuit this season, Brad, as well, and I think that's something that we get to look forward to again. Some great racing from some great cars here. The Storm Gang guys and the CMS guys have done a stellar job with this mod.
Yeah, CMS and Storm Gang Simulation have done an amazing job with this mod top to bottom. And of course, they've provided us all the fun stats with everything behind the scenes, which helps us understand what cars are going to benefit where. All of the cars are, of course, BOPed to be able to race with each other, because you have the IMSA championship cars with the WEC cars and the GT cars that all mix in. So everything's been BOPed to go through, and they are tweaking it as the season goes. That's the coolest thing for me, is it's not just a, you know, we hit round one, everything's done. Oh, the Lamborghini 63 sticks out and wins and does amazing. We were talking to Ross before the race, and one of the things he mentioned to me, he said, hey, the Mustangs and the C8s in the GT class are going to do amazing, and you should really keep an eye on any 963 Porsche and Hypercar, because they're going to be the ones to take a look at here, as we've got a replay coming up, and this is going to be, I'm going to imagine, a good moment there between GTs and Hypercars as we get going very, very quickly there.
Yeah, we get going through the traffic. I think that's Dan Kirby on his way through here as well. So Dan Kirby starting to make his way through the traffic, of course, here, but Jerry Chen battling away. It's Tony McCoffinen and Magnus Dahlgren in around us, with John Mayer behind us here as well. Mayer doing a great job in the Porsche 963. Then we've got Tony McCoffinen in the Alpine and Magnus Dahlgren in the Alpine as well. And it's an interesting scenario with these cars, because they do look amazing, but apart from the 9X8 in the Peugeot, they all kind of got the same very samey look for me, you know, and that's the thing, isn't it? They all look very samey here. And that's a bit of a shame, really, because the 9X8 does stand out from the rest, because you can't tell it apart because it hasn't got a big front rear wing on it. but all the others, a little bit meh.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the challenge of where we're at with racing today, is that everybody has a very strict set of regs that they follow, and they build to those regs. And the unfortunate thing, when you have a lot of teams dumping a lot of money with a lot of very skilled engineers, those very skilled, trained engineers are going to come up with similar designs when they're given a strict set of regulations. And that, I think it's an issue with modern racing regs as it goes. I think if you were to give, let's say, Cadillac, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Porsche and Toyota, you give them, kind of the green light and say, hey, make any car you want, make it look how you want, do what you want, and just make it fast, and we want to see you race it. They're going to come up with wildly different things. But when you're given a very strict set of regs, like what's been given for the hypercars in both IMSA and WEC, it produces bland.
I think that's the thing, and that's why I probably love the X8 so much. It's because it is so different here. You can see we've got a nice little tidy freeway battle on your screen at the moment as well, and it's all kicking off further back with George Angelidis and Eric Monet starting to weave their way through traffic. So George Angelidis there starting to make his way through the field. Of course, you've currently got on your screen at the moment, I believe is that Tom Lane there, is it, in the blue?
I think it was Angelidis, but looking at the battle for fourth here, you can see traffic is playing a factor, James, very, very quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing. We knew they were going to come through early. We're on 1 hour, 28 minutes to go, and they've already started to siphon their way through traffic. How big a deal is it going to be here, though, Brad?
Ooh, traffic is proving to be a big deal here, James. It's not letting go here as we're watching DeBrugen, and I believe that's Snowden that's going through as well. I mean, Lane, Hunter as well. I mean, I'll tell you right now, James, if this is what traffic is going to give us, just keep the traffic all day long.
Yeah, but we know that they're obviously going to be out on track as well, and they are going for it in that mix. That is Snowden in that battle in the 9X8. Of course, he's unfortunately just looking like he may have just taken a little bit of a sidetrack there, running very wide once more. So that's going to allow De Bruin to close up right behind him at the moment. Tom Lane's in the mix as well. He's currently got McCoffin a little bit further back behind them, who in turn has got Dahlgren sat in behind that with Jerry Chen and Mikhaili Dinu not far off each other as well. So still some great action materializing. Traffic playing a good old part here as this action hots up once more. Timon Subic, unfortunately, is 2 laps down and at the back in the Hypercar Pro class. I'd be interested to see if we can get a picture of that as we look at the Snowden in your bottom right hand corner, I believe, in that 9X8 there as they're fighting away on track at the moment.
Yeah, lots of good fights happening all throughout the field. Now that we've gotten through the first 15 minutes here, everybody's starting to cycle through. We're starting to see people get a little more brave. Everybody's settled in a little bit and has kind of gotten the jitters of the race start out of the way. And now we're starting to see drivers battle and fight and go through. Some info from Mr. Reese in the chat. Subic flipped his car over a curb with a 3-minute repair time. So that is why Subic's back. And oh, there's somebody getting spun right there. Oh, I believe that was De Bruin.
Yeah, I think that might have been Wouter De Bruin there. And De Bruin and Snowden. Snowden does let De Bruin back through. So for De Bruin and Snowden, they will be able to get on their way once more as they're still battling it out once again there. We've also got Cameron Barker. He's got John Uyan just up the road. They're still fighting through once more. And there is John Mayer currently as well, trying to siphon his way through traffic and past Jerry Chen all at the same time. So there's some great action materializing. The 9X8 getting very, very, how can I put it, battly there once again, as William Snowden, of course, in the 9X8 trying to come through the traffic at the same time. Not the most easiest, considering the traffic is kind of all the way around them at the moment here, Brad. Traffic playing a major part early on.
Yeah, I mean, it's good battles, it's good traffic. I mean, there's a lot of things going into play right now, and as a driver, it's very, very important that they just keep level-headed and just keep focused on getting through the track and getting the laps down, getting the time down. They've still got an hour and 24 minutes, and here's the thing, you don't win a race, you don't get a higher place, and nobody cares where you were at with an hour 24 to go. They care where you're at when the checkered flag flies. So right now, it is all about just conserving everything you can, getting through and playing it smart to the end, which, again, it's one thing for me to say it up here to you, James. It's another thing for these drivers to do that. Sometimes drivers, they see the target ahead and they just get very hyper-fixated on getting that move done and moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like motor racing in general. We call it that tunnel vision look, don't we? And you can see John Mayer going down the order at the moment. So not too sure what John's been up to as he's dropped, on my timing screen, he's dropped to 13th overall. But I can't see anything drastic that's happened to him as we go to Cameron Barker in there as well. And it looks like there is somebody off the side of the circuit. Barker, of course, in the Isotta Fraschini Tipo 6 car, fighting away with William Snowden. They were side by side at one point as well. So action materializing here. There's been a lot of people taking diversions. Ross Smith, John Watt, John Mayer, Filippo Marazzi, Herlock, Kirby, Lalonde, Snowden, Monet, all have had off tracks here as we still take pace with Cameron Barker as he's battling away with William Snowden there as well.
Yeah, Cameron Barker just continuing to put pressure on William Snowden and just continuing to roll forward the Isotta versus the Peugeot, which is a unique battle of cars. They're unique cars in their own way, and I do agree with you, James. They're probably the most unique hypercars that exist in the field of everyone we have. Everyone else you look at, and you could probably mix one with the other if you didn't know the subtle differences, but these two truly stand out. And oh, there's a big snap on the curb.
Snowden in that X8 there as well. I have driven the X8 in another sim that's just recently been released. I will say that the X8 in that sim literally wants to kill you, and you can safely say it's not ideal. There, Mr. Recent YouTube chat, this track looks very, very pale. Yeah, we've kind of touched on that. It's not a I don't really know how to put it. It's not a circuit that we would pick, I think, Brett.
Yeah, I told you about my experience with this track before the broadcast. I've done several F1 streams on this broadcast, and it's just it produces very boring racing in Formula One races, which is unfortunate. I'm glad to see VWSC is giving some very, very good battles through, and we're continuing to see action. A little bit of that is because of the classes getting mixed together here and things getting shuffled as time goes with the difference in pace, but overall, this track is one that leaves a lot to be desired. It's very flat, there's no banking, it's constant turns. It's easy to mix up one sector of the track with another if you're not sure where you're at or what's going on. Another fun fact about this track originally only had capacity for 8,000 fans when it was open until Formula One came in. And then when Formula One came in, they upped the capacity from 8,000 to 50,000 fans. So this is a interesting track in many regards other than just it being flat and boring.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing though, when finances pay a lot of, how can I put it, they give funds, don't they? And that's the problem here. Once again, we've got there was three cars going wide there as well. Barker was involved. I believe that may have been Schmidt and Uyan as they were taking it, coming off here. Once again, you see them go down the straight in a very short minute, and you can see them going three wide there as well. Very interesting battles. Not an ideal scenario to be going three wide this early with an hour and 20 minutes left.
Yeah, no, the guys need to reel it back a little bit. The drivers need to reel it back just a little and understand that they've got an hour 20 left to go here. They need to relax. But Becky Ely, who is off here in the Ferrari 296, I don't know what's happened to Becky Ely, but Becky Ely going very, very slow and off the pace here through the middle sector of the track. I believe this is actually coming up. Turn 6 here is the left-hander that Becky Ely is at, but Becky Ely is very off the pace, dropping down to P3 in class now. but I mean very, very slow. I don't know if that's damage or what's happening.
I can safely tell you now, Becky Ely in a hypercar got into it. Becky did a spin, and unfortunately she got hit, and then there was an X8, I believe, that launched over the top of her. So unfortunately for Becky Ely there, I'm probably going to safely say that if she hasn't got damage on that car, I would be very, very surprised. So yeah, very interesting scenario for Becky Ely here. I think we are just about to see, oh no, it's not Becky's replay as well. That's was Snowden there in the X8. Snowden in the X8 going, unfortunately making a little bit of a mistake. So Snowden having contact there as well. I believe that was with John Uyan. I believe that was with John Uyan there as well, unfortunately. But yeah, traffic playing a part, hypercars playing their own part, and of course they've got to make sure they're being careful when overtaking traffic, because at the end of the day, they don't want to get caught up with anybody else's issue.
Yeah, big shout out to Paul there behind the scenes running the cameras, because as soon as he cut the camera over, I saw a quick little blip, and I was like, wait a second, was that a car that I just saw? But he was able to get us back, get a replay and catch that. So big shout out to Paul for getting it behind the scenes and showing us that replay of those two hypercars coming together. But we talked about it, James, the drivers need to breathe a little bit. Guys, there's an hour 18 left to go, and you've got plenty of time for action. You don't need to do anything crazy. And we've already got some drivers going into the pits here, so it looks like for our that's Becky Ely into the pits.
Mm-hmm.
But so that is a confirmation of that car's probably very messed up, and Becky Ely is gonna have a lot to recover from over the next hour and 18 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost Donald Hunter as well. Not entirely sure what happened to him. As we can see, John Ewan here on your screen at the moment. That's contact with William Snowden as they're battling away as well. And unfortunately, there once again, if we have a look, if we can try and get a hold of the Donald Hunter replay, I think we might just see probably one of the first things we have ever seen in this series as well for Donald Hunter. Unfortunately, it became a bit of a cropper, and it was a nice little flying mission for him. So if you have a look now on your screen, there is Donald Hunter there as well, and he just goes up into the air and fly, and then he comes back down, and that's it. Donald Hunter is a DNF, and unfortunately is out of the race there. So Hunter doing a well, that was off the back end of the Edie incident, of course, and Donald Hunter just taking it a good old fly up in the air there, Brad.
Yeah, I know that Alpine made helicopters, but I'm sure they're glad to know that they're breaking into the aerospace industry slowly but surely here in R Factor 2. So props to them, and I will not be buying one of their helicopters because it doesn't look like a fun little ride.
We got Dan Kirby here. We did lose Subic a little bit earlier on. Not entirely sure what happened. I think that was near the beginning of the race for Subic. Kirby out in front by 2 seconds, getting back to his old winning ways here, Brad. It's Dan Kirby.
Dan Kirby is just dominating this race, has looked comfortable, has been leading since the start of the race, has a 2-second gap back on Daniel Hurlock, and is just kind of setting the pace and holding things together while we watch further back the battles are developing. Kirby wants no part of this, but here you have John Uyan, who is just continuing to battle there in the Isoda and just continuing to put pressure through, and now the hypercar pit stops begin. A little bit earlier than I was anticipating, but now the hypercar pit stops are beginning.
Yeah, they are. People are starting coming into the pits as well, but they did say they were only going to go for about 25 minutes. And that's probably roughly whereabouts we are on here, of course, as you can see the pit lane on your left-hand side there, and then the nice little picture in the bottom right-hand side, provided again by our wonderful individual, Mr. Paul Glover, in the background. So Paul doing an absolutely stellar job once more here and bringing us all the action here again.
Yeah, there's a lot going on a small track like this, and it can be hard to keep up. And especially when you start mixing up classes, mixing up paces, and now ooh, Kirby and Herlock into the pit together, and Herlock somehow only a half second behind Kirby as we run into the pits here. So, and this is for the overall lead of the race. So this could get very spicy very quick depending on how their pit stops go.
Yeah, I think Kirby got held up there by traffic for him. Bernardo's in as well. Michele Dinu is not going in, so he's probably going to take the overall lead of this race at the moment as Dino clears Herlock. He's going to clear Kirby, I think, as well, and Dino does take the overall lead currently. But again, obviously Dino's got a pit, so I expect that to change as well. Bernardo's still in the pits. He's going to come out in roughly round about 6th place with Baker there as well. Dan Kirby up and running. And it looks like Kirby, unfortunately, has lost positions. He's down in 4th. Herlock is still behind him with Bernardo, Jerry Chen, Cameron Barker, and John Meyer there as well. So some great action taking place. You see on the left-hand side, the GT3s are very spread out here, Barad. But I'm wondering if that is due to, obviously, hypercar traffic coming through as well.
Yeah, the GT3s have a unique problem here because I've talked about how this track is consistently, there's something going on. But the thing is, when you're the GT3, then you have to mix it. You've got hypercars coming around in the mix as well, wanting to get past you, trying to get around you, and you're trying to just go through and run your race and hit your apexes, hit your marks, and not cause any problems here. So then, you know, it becomes a unique problem for them of what do they do to not compromise their race and also not compromise a hypercar's race. What do you do when you're the slower car? You've got faster cars coming up, but there's not a straight that you can just get over and let them through. There's not anything you can do to try to make it easier for the hypercar to pass. So what do you do at a track like this, James? What should these GT3s be doing to let these hypercars through?
Now, the problem is for me is that's where I have a very different opinion as we see Dino going into the pits there. So we'll keep an eye on Tom Lane. He's gone in. What about Wouter de Brood? He's heading in. So this should free up Dan Kirby. I think everybody knows where I stand on removing themselves from the battles as soon as possible, right? Because I think that's the right thing to do as well. And I've made it considerably clear what I think, and even the leagues I run, you know, it's even written in the rule books, please remove yourself out of the way as quickly as possible. So I think that's the thing for me. So if you've got a car like this coming down the straight and the hypercar's behind you, just lift off, let him through, because you know everybody in front of you's got to do the same thing. If he catches you on the run from 3 to 4, again, you've got a little bit of a straight to move over. Coming out the exit of 5, coming out the exit of 6, again, all opportunities to remove yourself from the situation. Maybe not so much 7 to 10, but 10 to 13, again, you've got opportunities to get out of the way. So I think there is a chance for people to move, Brad. I don't think they really need to be hanging on too much to positions. There is an opportunity for them to get out of the way, and it's just how sensible they want to be in doing it in the process.
Yeah, see, for me, it's always, I have the opinion of it's up to the faster car to get the pass done cleanly, but the slower car needs to not cause unnecessary drama.
Not do that.
Issues.
That's the thing. When we're looking at Dan Kirby, he's trying to come through traffic, and his GT3's almost door banging him on the same way through. That's not. You can't. I think this is where everybody gets it wrong, right? The word of facilitation. And that is one word that's written in rule books in multiple sims that people don't understand. Facilitate does not mean take the guy down into the corner. Okay, it doesn't mean that. Facilitate means be sensible, lift off, let him through, and take your racing line again. It doesn't mean that I'm going to run him all the way down into the corner, going to go late just to allow him there as well, as we see an off-track car in front of us there, just literally gone right in between us. So I think that might have been locked there as well. And I think that's the problem. George just messaged me as well, and this is the interesting thing. James, he said, your blue flag rule is wrong. And it's like, okay, George, tell me what it is. And it was so, and there was such a long message that he sent me coming down about going into the braking zone deeper to allow the car in front to take his line. And for me, it's a lot more simpler. Move out of the way on the straight, lift off, let them through. And then both of you haven't got to go in deep, right? Because it's just grief. There's no need for it in my eyes.
right? And it's like
that,
a moment like that Mustang.
What is that doing when it's got the whole entire side of the track to get out of the way? This is where I think sports car racing and rules like that drive me crazy. And George knows he stresses me out when he comes in with these. James, I'm part of real life. I don't care, right? That, we're not in real life, we're in sim racing. And that, from that Mustang, was not the best way of dealing with traffic. Stop trying to take the inside line when you've got cars coming through. As we look at Adrian Rice was responsible for the chaos that we've just seen. There's no need for it. Look, he goes the right way that time, but then unfortunately it just goes all a little bit. Stay on the outside. There's no need to try and come back and please don't do that. Like you're going to wash out anyway, and unfortunately anybody up behind you is going to get stuck. And no, just flat no.
It's the blue flag rule is something that we're going to have contentions with the literal whole season, and it's just I don't know. There's never a clear answer, and depending on who you ask, you're always going to get a different answer.
But this is the thing. He's running that car into the corner. What is the maximum point in that? Lift now and let them through, and he doesn't, and he just gets in the way. You are in the way, and I don't care what anybody says. That is not good traffic management. He had 2 short straights that I said about as well. Coming out of 5, going out of 6, he had the opportunity and he didn't. And he ended up, and he took it straight in the wrong way. And I'm sure George is going to be sitting there watching his back, laughing his head off, right? Because he knows how I feel about this situation. But just get out of the way. There's Dan Kirby there as well. So it drives me crazy. I've got to admit, it's one of the areas that, we've now put in Timon Suvic on your screen at the moment here as well. As Paul's in the background going, James, get back on the racing, will you? Shut up. So there we go. So Timon Suvic does end up going wide, and then Guillaume Benk behind him, or Benk Day, depending on how you want to say it, of course. Also having an incident there again as he goes off and drifts off a little bit wide. But yeah, this Mustang for me, no. Lift.
All right. I'll go ahead.
It stresses me out. Like, you know what I mean? Come on.
I will go ahead and make the promise to not bring up blue flags for the rest of the season until next month at our next race.
Yeah, you've got to agree with me. This is no. Anyway, we're on a replay at the moment here as well. So this is the start where Snowden went a little bit wide and he ran off there as well. You can see Snowden going all the way around the wide line of turn 1, keeping his foot in, mind you, not even lifting there in that 9X8. So fair play to Snowden once again as he just keeps his foot in and hopes that the car sticks there and does a stellar job with that. Battles at the moment, not a lot going on here currently. We can see at the moment, as you can see there, some of the cars are a little bit spread out. So maybe we'll carry on my blue flag race. But yeah, we got Good Life and Bank there as battling away, as they're battling side by side. As I've just been sang the 90s tune in my ear roll by our producer. So a stellar job from him. Mind you, I've now got a load of cats outside my window, but we'll talk about that one after. As Good Life and Bank are battling it out here as well, Brad.
Yeah, Good Life and Bank keeping some action going on the track. And again, VWSC giving us some sort of action to always take a look at here. This is the battle for P7, and you can see Good Life just trying to make a run. He thinks it's going to be a Good Life if he can get up into 7th place, but he's trying, can't make it land. He is going for it, though. I mean, but you can see the difference in lines. You can see the difference in how the drivers are approaching. And there we go, as there is going to be Bank going around. So Good Life now up into 7th place in the Hypercar class and is going to keep trying to push forward. But there is a bit of a gap here, and I don't think he has that position. No, there's enough of a gap there. He's got it locked in.
All the GT3 AMs are in. Miller, Buse, LePetri, Buse and Buse. The top 6 are all into the pits there. So the GT3s deciding that now is a good time to come in all at the same time, as Marazzi is out in front as well. So Felipe there, good luck George, good luck Oliver, in YouTube chat once again. So some great action materializing. There's going to be some great action through the GT3s. I think from our point of view, Gwillimbank and Good Life are not too far apart there. So Gwillimbank and Good Life there, with also Michael Locke finding himself in the battle once more. So action here, Brad, and still more action materializes, I'm sure, as we're just about to break the 1 hour mark remaining in about 4 minutes time.
Yeah, and we've almost hit 40 minutes of action and then another 60 to go. So this is the point where the drivers really need to kind of take a little bit of time and do a check in their head. They need to think about where they're at. They need to think about what their goals are for this race. Is it a recovery drive? Is it, if you're Daniel Kirby, are you just trying to hold the lead? If you're Daniel Herlock, are you just trying to get in the lead in that Lamborghini? So you've got 40 minutes in. You should know where you're at and where your brain's at. You should know where everything is at as the GT3 leaders are in for their first pit stops. So Hypercar guys need to be thinking about what their goals are for this race. These GT3 guys need to start thinking about a little bit of endurance and a little bit of strategy. They need to start thinking, okay, I've went 40 minutes. I've got 60 minutes to go. I know I need another pit stop. Where do I want to do it? What's my plans with that? There's an overall picture these guys need to keep in mind and not just, oh, car in front, I pass car in front.
Yeah, if gap car, of course, there as well. We've got a battle on your screen all the way down in P17 there, as these guys are Leif and Angelidis and Benjamin Portier-Heath. Angelidis just about trying to go up the inside there, doesn't make it through this time. Portier-Heath goes in deep. That allows Angelidis to take the position away. That's 4 for Angelidis in the Hypercar AMS here, so a great job from him. I will say one thing at the moment, and that is William Snowden, dear sir. You have been the master of your own downfall this afternoon. He did very well in qualifying, and everything that Snowden's done after that has just been wrong. He's been going in deep into corners. He's been missing the apex and ended up on the outside. We saw the mistake he did in turn 1 as well. But William Snowden, you're kind of jeopardizing your own race here as well. So I think he needs to tidy it up just a little bit there, does Snowden. So once more, but as we're still on board with Portier-Heath, he's still battling away with Angelidis, and now we've moved on once more here as well.
Looks like this is Cameron Barker who is chasing down De Bruin here. And you mentioned, Snowden kind of riding his own race here. And, here's the thing. You can do really good on 1 lap pace at a track. But nobody cares about where you placed in qualifying. Everybody cares about where you were at the end of the 100 minutes. And that's the thing, for me, the drivers have to remember that. And it always kills me when drivers want to get real crazy real early on or go wild or be like, oh, well, I qualified first, I'm fast. And it's like, okay, cool. Where were you at the end of 100 minutes? Well, I was last because I ran off turn 1 and then spun and couldn't hit a corner. Okay, so I don't care then that you have good 1 lap pace.
No.
That's not, 1 lap pace is one component of this series, and it's one component of being a good endurance driver.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And I think overall you kind of need the consistency, should we say, that you're not necessarily getting here. Again, as you say, it's not a sprint race. It's a battle that these guys have got to contend with, and they've still got an hour to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how it works out here for these guys.
Yeah, and it's, again, we're about to hit 60 minutes to go here, so it's just going to be a case of the drivers need to take stock where they're at, what their goals are, what they want to do. If you are Snowden, at this point it's a recovery drive. It's what can you recover to get back up. I don't think he's going to get back up to the lead, but it's going to be going. John Ewan is continuing to be under pressure here, though, and is going to have to keep things going because Magnus Dahlgren is behind in the Alpine and is ready to go and make that move. This would be the battle for P11 overall, side by side as they come out of the final corner here. And now set back in the slipstream, drag race down through. Dahlgren can get the run. It's going to be a pass down the main straight here and into turn 1. Who will come out ahead? It's Dahlgren on the inside, Ewan on the outside, and a good clean pass. Ewan knows to back out of it, and Dahlgren takes P11 overall on track.
Yeah, Magnus Dahlgren doing a stellar job with John Uyan there as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this battle carried on once again. I don't think this is going to be necessarily over either here as well. So let's see how it all pans out once again. But there's that green Mustang that's, well, he's just been there.
I think it's Rice down at P6 in the GP3s. So we'll see if Rice has learned from his previous mistakes and his 15-minute TED Talk with Mr. James Parfit, and see if he makes this a little bit easier on De Bruin here to go through. And it looks like he might be, but don't hold your breath. No, he's going side by side with a hypercar into the final corner around, and you can see that hypercar has to back out of it, and that is, yeah, maybe not better. And James, I'm
not even going there.
I don't want to go there. Not today. We'll be here for another 58 minutes.
No, this is R Factor 2. This is a modded version of R Factor 2 with the 2024 Hypercars and the 2024 GT3. So if you're wondering why, of course, you're looking at a Mustang and you haven't seen it in any other sim, it's because it ain't. It's not in any other sim and isn't likely to be. I don't think it's in Race Room. I don't think it's in ACC yet, but I'm sure my producer Paul will be able to tell me on that one in my ear. But I think R Factor 2 is the only sim I think it is R Factor 2. I don't think it's in ACC, Brad.
I think it is either. They just added. I know they just added GT2s into ACC though. That was one of their most recent DLCs going through. But another big shout out is needed because Storm Gang Simulation doing a great job getting these cars in, getting them all working, and getting them very even here. As we see a Mustang who just doesn't want to get out of the way and is just trying to make life difficult for everyone. P2 battle opening up here, though, as Paul has told me, and it is Herlock and Bernaldo going through, and the beautiful sound of these hypercars going down the main straight. But you can see side by side, they're going to go into turn 1 here, and it looks like Herlock will just hold on slightly ahead of Bernaldo in my favorite hypercar, which is the Cadillac. And they go through turn 1 holding on, but the Cadillac does have some good power. We'll see how things go as we continue through.
Yeah, Herlock there doing a stellar job, but Bernardo in 3rd place doing a good job as well, as he's now stuck behind the GT3. We are going to take it 3 wide. Why not? Let's just go for it as Herlock and Bernardo continue their battles in the hypercars. That, of course, is the Lamborghini there and the Porsche 963. The Lamborghini does look very, very nice, mind you. But again, it's all very samey as the Porsche comes through as well. But now we'll go down to De Bruin and Parker as they're looking like they're getting into a nice little spicy battle as well with De Bruin and Parker.
Yeah, De Bruin and Barker battle for 6th here. They are keeping things very interesting. Schmidt and Snowden, this is the battle for 12. You can see going through the inside here. Good pass, good clean move, and just holding on there. Schmidt is, but the Peugeot does have a lot of good pace and is going to be able to keep up down the main straight with that lack of a rear wing, can get a little bit more top speed up and can just give a lot of pressure into turn 1. It's not the best in the corners, but not having that rear wing, 1, does make it look unique, but 2, also gives it a bit of good speed that it can carry on.
Yeah, it does. It's all... Oh, Snowden's gone round, I believe, as well. I think as William Snowden, I think Schmidt did let him back through, but I think him and Snowden had a little bit of contact there again. So let's see here with these guys how this one pans out. But yeah, I think the design of the X8 is very, very significant in going forward with hypercar design. Okay, it uses a lot of aerodynamics, channeling the air over the front of the car, and then it sends it through an air channel that dips in just under the driver's windows and then sends it out onto the floor to keep it stuck there as well. As you can see the replay of Schmidt and Snowden. This is where Snowden does get a little bump And Schmidt does give him a little bit of a love tap there again. So unfortunately for them too, but he does allow him back through. So I think that's a good thing there as well. So, but I think, yeah, the Peugeot does a lot on air supply. It does a lot on air feed as well. And I think that's the thing for that. So we've lost Filippo Marazzi there as well, as he's DNF, just got straight back into the pits. Didn't see what happened. Didn't see anything from him, and unfortunately for Marazzi, he looks like he is out, joining the list of Marazzi and Hunter, and it looks like we may have lost Monet as well here, Brad, once again. But if you've never driven the X8 or you've not looked at the X8, then obviously the aerodynamics is quite a different to the other cars that are there in front of them.
Yeah, and it's a good approach. I like the approach. I think it's a good way to make your car stand out, and I think it's a good style that works because it goes off of the kind of vortex and just letting the air suction cup the car to the ground, which is something that you see in a lot of high-end production cars. It's something that I know Bugatti does with their cars. Their aerodynamics is designed to push the car to the ground and hold the car down. It's something that, even though Formula One has a wing, there's a lot of that in Formula One as well. So kind of taking that unique approach through and not saying, hey, I don't need a big rear wing. I can do this through channels and vortices and, vortex the car down. I think it's a good approach, and it's one that works. The cars are very fun to drive. They're different to drive, but once you get your head around that sort of different approach, that different feel, there's a lot in those cars to give.
Yeah, and I think the X8 does it in a way where people can recognize the car as well. As we were talking about earlier on, there was some very samey. So there as well as Schultz and Dahlgren now still going at it again in this 9th and 10th place. Dahlgren not too far away as he's heading down there again. So yeah, 10th and 11th here as Dahlgren just makes that move in that Alpine, and he's just gone up the inside of Schultz going into turn 1 there as well. So a great job from Dahlgren. I'm sure he will push on and try and make his way through the track. I'd love to see more hypercars come out with a different form of build to be able to control the airflow. I think the X8 was the first one that came out, and it basically made a massive impression. They didn't know how it was going to run because it had no wing, and the bit of wing it did have was just a little bit of almost perspex kind of stuff on the back. But to be fair, as hypercars go, it works really, really well, and it's going to be very exciting to see here. I believe George Angelidis has also gone off the side of the circuit. I think he's gone in too deep, and so has Mika Locke. And again, I believe he went in a little bit too deep here currently. So yeah, unfortunate for them guys. But slowly starting to settle down, apart from Bernardo and also Herlock there as we go to a replay. This is George Angelidis. You'll see him just go in a little bit deep into the corner. And there you go, he's off on the side there, unfortunately for him, as he's done it twice in a row as Mr. Angelidis. So there we go. But Bernardo and Herlock, one of the closest battles on track here, Brad, in the hypercars at the moment.
Yeah, watching that Bernardo Herlock battle continue to develop and open up here as we're watching replays through of just different drivers that are just completely missing their marks as you watch here and go. The hypercars are really struggling with track limits here. I do want to give a big shout out to Jerry Chen there in 9th overall, leading the hypercar AM class with a 25-second lead, even gapping Schultz, Ewan, Dahlgren, Snowden, and Schmidt. But as that hypercar AM for Chen, very much in the mix with some of the pro hypercars. So big shout out to him and running in that position. But this battle for P2 overall is far from settled, and with 51 minutes to go, I have a feeling you could grab some popcorn, sit down, and watch these two, and barring nothing crazy happening, this battle is going to go all the way to the end.
Well, yeah, that's going to be seeing how it pans out, of course. Hopefully they will, but they will have to do pit stops probably in about the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll keep an eye on what Herlock and Bernardo does in the pit stops, whether or not he's going to cover him off, or whether or not he's going to try and extend it there. We've also got John Uyan and Alexander Schultz. They're battling away side by side currently as well. As you can see, the current running order there with Kirby, Hurlock, Bernardo, Dino, Lane, Barker, Bruin, McCoffin, Schultz. They're rounding out the top 9, I believe it was, or 8 drivers on the screen there as well. So still some more action to come here, Brad. I think there's going to be a lot more involved before we get through the next 50.
Yeah, looking at the Hypercar AM class, you've got Jerry Chen, who I mentioned a minute ago, who is worlds ahead of John Mayer at the moment. George Angelides, who is very comfortable there in P3. Norman Graff. Luke Goodlife, who is living the good life up in 5th place in that 005 Porsche. And then Bank Porteous Heath, Greg Pullen, Vinicius Gonzalez, and Adam Gray, the top 10 there in the Hypercar AM standings. Just settling in, holding on. And then, of course, Peter Stefani and Eric Monet, who we have lost in the Hypercar classes. And then GT classes are still giving us good battles. It's an Aston Martin in the lead here. And, I mean, they are just staying nice and relaxed there with an Aston Martin in the lead, even though I'm pretty sure I was told that the Mustang would be the car to keep an eye on, James.
Yeah, but I think we've seen a couple of the Mustangs struggle, haven't we, as well? You know, we got Gilles Lalonde in the Mustang, we got Spiff in the Ferrari. They're battling it down for 37th, 38th overall. Obviously, from that point of view, it's the same inter-class battle. And again, I believe Lalonde has just taken a little bit of an off-track diversion there. I think off-track seems to be the regular thing that be watching at the moment, as you can see with Bernardo into the pits currently.
Yeah, Bernardo into the pits and off track is a big problem, and it kind of ties back into that don't get lost moment. I think some of these off tracks are genuinely just drivers getting lost where they're at on the circuit and having moments of, you know, just because this track is so demanding mentally, because it is consistently, you're in a corner, that sometimes the drivers are probably just going, wait a minute, what corner am I coming up to? What do I need to do? And getting distracted by something else, because this is, even though it's only 100 minutes, it's still a very demanding race in that 100 minutes to keep up with. So these guys that are going through these pit stop cycles right now are probably very thankful. Grab some water, take a quick mental break, kind of hold on, and just get ready to go and relax for a moment, because 48 minutes left to go, and it's going to move quick because here's the other fun thing. Sundown is coming.
Yeah, I've just about seen that there as well. I do love the fact that there's actually a moon in this as well. So that's quite incredible once again there. So, yeah, great action here all the way through. And I don't think this is going to be quite done as the pit stops cycles are starting through once again. We've got the Hypercars trying to go past Wayne Galvin as well in that Mustang GT3s. There does make a good pass and get himself out of the way quite quickly. I believe that was Becky Ely just flashing past at turn 1 on the bottom of your screen there. She is still running and running all the way down in 39th place at the moment. So Becky Ely, after us being sent into the different oblivion, and then Hunter also coming off that incident and being sent in as well. Jerry Chen's in the pits, Jascha Schmitz in the pits, Gwilym Benk, and Vinicius Goncalves is also into the pits, and so is Adam Gray. So there's a lot of people at the moment, Brad, sitting in the pits.
Yeah, this is about the time we'd expect it, and for the Hypercars, they know they need to try to stretch to make 2 more pit stops, because what you don't want to do as a Hypercar is do this pit stop, do another pit stop, and then run short on fuel near the end and have to do a splash and go. That's not what any of these guys want to do. So this next stint is really going to be about conservation of fuel and just settling down. And if any of these guys are really going to land it, they need to just be sure that they're going a little slower, just holding on to things as they go through. And this third stint for the Hypercars is going to be the make or break stint. And I think, depending on who's the winner, who's on the podium, where they're at in the end when we ask them, I think they will all agree that that third stint was make or break for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I do fully agree with you. 46 minutes on the clock. If they're going to go 25, they really need to go for a few more laps if they can. We've got Benjamin Porteous Heath and Noel Graff. They're having a nice little battle on track as they're going into turn 1 at the moment. Porteous Heath hanging on to the position here currently, but yeah, he's under a lot of pressure there as well, is Porteous Heath. So yeah, even further action 45 minutes on the clock. What are you thinking about now, Brad, at this moment in time? Are you thinking about, I'm just going to sit, chill, or are you trying to make places up one by one?
I think this is the point where you need to start thinking, how can I move forward? What do I need to do to get ahead? How far is the guy in front of me, and what can I do to start slowly moving forward and getting positions up? Because this is the point where you don't want to be sitting back. If you're someone like Dinu, if you're Tom Lane, if you're Ernest Bernaldo, you don't want to be just sitting and relaxing. You need to start making moves forward and doing what you can to try to work your way up the field. If you're anyone in the GT3 class, you need to start closing the gaps and getting things down. 45 minutes isn't a lot of time, but if you're 45 minutes out and you've got a 20-second, 30-second gap, like we see some of these gaps in the GT3 class, you need to start working your way forward. And of course, our GT3 amps, if you're Buse, those guys need to just start closing into each other a little bit as they can.
Yeah, top four in the hypercars, all in the pits together. That should release Bernardo. I would say should release him into the front there. That's Stephen Miller is also mixed in there as well. Who was Stephen Miller's teammate this season? I can't remember who he had. There looks like LePetri just may have gone off the side of the circuit as well. Fifth and sixth battle on your screen at the moment in the bottom right hand corner there. So nice little racing from Adrian Rice as he's battling away here as well.
Yeah, and we see that yellow Mustang yet again getting into the mix of things here and causing a little bit of action, a little bit of fun there with the hypercars trying to go through. But it's Mustang, and C8 on your screen right now that are just holding each other very, very honest in that GT3 category. And I've said that on several broadcasts, keeping each other honest. And I had someone ask me the other day, well, what do you mean when you say that? And I mean, you're just telling the guy in front, hey, I'm right behind you, don't make a mistake. Between Rice.
I'm not even getting involved. I am physically shutting up at this moment in time. Bill Hunter, yay, lock your brakes. Yeah, we did see you go sent off into the shadow realm there, dear sir, as well. It looks like for Donald, I believe it was, he looked like he was going to be taking an audition for Stranger Things. He was in the upside down that much. So there, as we can see, Rice and Mr. Angelides as well. But yeah, I'm not going to say anything anymore.
You know, I'm going to make a controversial statement here, James, and you're not going to like it. I don't think that was the Mustang's fault.
Oh, no words.
Seeing that replay, I don't think that was the Mustang's fault. I think the hypercar just tried to send it where there wasn't space.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to go with it on that one. Let's see.
Well, I'm sure somebody on Sim Racing Stewards will post it later. And if you haven't ever been on Sim Racing Stewards on Reddit, you really should go take a look. Check out a couple of their things because you can see some pretty good disagreements happen there for whose fault was what on an incident. So, yeah, this is a live broadcast, and I'm sure that we'll have the conversation later. I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm right or I'm wrong.
He's wrong. So there you go. Moving on. No dramas there, buddy. Of course, you know, no love. But we got Jascha Schmidt down here currently as well, battling away with John Uyan and William Snowden. They're 10th and 11th in class. Snowden in the X8. He's definitely getting his money's worth here in this X8. He's seen all parts of the circuit, and some not necessarily the ones he should be seeing either, as once again the Mustang decides that lifting at this moment in time to allow everybody to go through would be too much like hard work. So there we go.
I think it's a Mustang thing. At this point, I think it is just a Mustang issue. I believe that was Snowden who went wide right there. Again, just that X8 just loves to get its money's worth here of Qatar.
Yeah, it's a good job. It's a modded circuit, isn't it? And he gets given it to it, because otherwise, if he'd paid for this, he would have well earned his bucks out of going to see every part of the circuit. Snowden has had what could only be deemed as a roller coaster race, qualifying up the front and then, well, getting it all wrong in turn one, and then every single corner after that for the last hour. It looks like he's not buried, unfortunately, many in the right way. I think that's that's probably the safest way I'll put it.
Yeah, I would agree the safest way. And I mean, at this point, it is about being safe. The lights are down, on, the sun is down. You need to just be safe and make it to the end here. And that, none of the drivers are going to do that, but that's my recommendation, is just play it safe to the end and just do what you can. Don't try to be the hero, the unsung hero here of the race. But, you know, I can only ask for so much.
This is true. This is true. I'll tell you what, though, for a night race and no track lights, this track looks pretty well lit up in the dark.
It does. It does look good. And, yeah, it's... Oh, something just happened there. That's Schmidt that's off. Uyen was off. What just happened there? I blinked and missed it. Someone...
Yeah.
What happened?
I can tell you what happened if you want. There was a GT3 car involved. Snowden sending out the inside, and then they made contact. I'm sure we'll have a look at that one back as well. William Snowden and Yasha Schmidt as they're coming around the corner. Here it is on your screen now. We're a little bit further back, I think, because there's a GT3 car involved here as they come up to obviously catch the GT3 car, and then they end up making contact. That is the GT3. I believe that's one of the voices there as well. And if we have a look as they come around the corner, again, opportunity to lift and allow them through. Doesn't. He goes in there. Snowden says, well, I'm going to go and follow up the GT3, who sends Sasha out. Then he goes out, and then, unfortunately, that happens.
Yeah, I can't say that wasn't the GT3's fault there, because that's
It's
Ah.
do you know, I think, right, I can become a life coach for some of these drivers. I think that's the thing. A racecraft life coach.
I could see that.
Yeah, I can see it as well.
Yeah, that could be interesting. You know, maybe, James, for the sake of your blood pressure, we take you off of a couple of these VWSC casts, because I have a feeling that by the end of the season, we might need to send you to your doctor. But by the way, these GT3s and these hypercars are going.
No, it's not that bad. It just, unfortunately, certain things drive me crazy. But I believe we are on board there, as we're on the nose of Mika Lock, I believe that was, there. But
yeah, that's okay. Not the yellow Mustang's fault in that incident, but I can't give the Corvette any grace in the other one. The Corvette was just completely boneheaded there in that maneuver. And again, someone's going to argue it's not the Corvette's fault, it's on the hypercar, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, we could sit here all day and try to assign blame. Thankfully, I don't think either of us are paid stewards, so we don't have to deal with it. It's not our problem.
No, I'm not a paid steward. I'm a paid opinionator. So you know, I don't do the stewarding. I do the opinionating, which sometimes leads to me being in the steward's room. Generally, after an owner's watched the race back and goes, James, can we have a word? I'm like, oh, I've been naughty. I've clearly said something. But I think, look, at the end of the day, this is why we're here, right? We've got 37 minutes on the clock. We're here to call the action. We're here to give our opinions. And at the end of the day, our DMs are always open and messages to let us know if we got it wrong. All right. Of course, you can leave a comment down below. Don't forget, like, subscribe, turn on the bells, whether or not you're on the CMS or the JPB YouTube channel as well. The out there's said he didn't have a team for this one and was happy to have a break as well. So he's sitting at home enjoying this with his slippers and his blanket with his popcorn there as well. So yes, a great fair play. You know what I mean?
I mean, sometimes for drivers, it is worth just not. Sometimes you just want that break, and I don't think that's a bad thing in a season for a driver to say, "Hey, I'm not going to race this one. I need a race off for whatever reason it might be, and I just want to enjoy watching." You know, Crofty in F1 is missing 3 broadcasts this season. Was announced during testing. He announced, you know, hey, I'm missing 3 races this season. I'm going to let the BBC commentators fill in, but you know, I'm looking forward to sitting at home with my family and learning a thing or two, just watching a broadcast and learning. It's something that I don't think it's ever a bad thing for a driver, a commentator, a broadcaster to sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to watch how someone else does things and see what I learn, see what I like, see what I don't like. It's not a bad thing. And hey, if you're someone like Paul, he could learn a thing or two, I'm sure, if he sits back and
Paul could
JPV things.
Yeah, Paul could do with learning loads there as well. Unfortunately, Crofty sent a letter asking me to cover to the wrong address. So unfortunately, I couldn't cover for Crofty on F1 there as well, unfortunately. You know, so, but I think that's the thing in general. People do need a break and they do need time away and they do need this and that. And as you say, watching other people could do it. But again, even with commentary in general, you know, you're never going to please anyone. And I saw that. I think anyone. So you're, and I saw that with our good friend Jake Sanson during the week, who had an issue where people were saying about his commentary, and you're never going to please anybody with the commentary. You're never going to please everyone with your commentary. As Cameron Barker gets a little bit of a snap going through turn one, and he's gone off the side of the circuits. We see Herlock and Bernardo, but that's the same thing. You're never going to please everybody, and at the end of the day, it is what it is. Some people like the way you com, some people don't like the way you com, some people want you to be very boring and generic, and you know, whiter than white, and just completely, utterly. And others want action, they want fun commentary, they want chat interaction, they want it all, and it's just a different story, as we can see there as well, the incident I was talking about a little bit earlier on. So I think everybody's different.
Yeah, opinions are like big toes. Most people have one, so it's a little
and they're all different.
Yeah, exactly. So most people are going to have an opinion about what you do. They're going to like it. They're not going to like it. It's,
exactly.
You know, end of the day, as long as you're happy with what you're doing, it doesn't matter. It's the same way with driving styles. Every driver has a slightly different approach to a corner, to a track.
Whoa.
And to be frank, as long as they're comfortable and consistent with it, I don't think it matters as long as you're not 10 seconds off the pace. If you're right there on the pace, you're consistent and you're doing okay, and you can sustain that for the duration of a race, then more power to you. Keep it going here.
Yeah, we've lost Snowden. Snowden has had a DNF there. He's gone in, I think he went off the side of the circuit, which is, I believe, what we saw, and then he went into the pit lanes, and unfortunately has a DNF. I'm not entirely sure because he is what that was from him, but he went into the pit lane and DNF'd. Unfortunately, we have lost that 9X8 that showed great potential at the beginning of the race. But we did say, Brad, it's been a very up and down race for Snowden. You know, he's been on more roller coasters in this race than they've got at Alton Towers. So for him, it's always going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just, sometimes it's best to just know when to call it too. Sometimes, you know, when a race has been real bad, it's just not worth it to keep pushing yourself and keep having a bad race. Sometimes it's better to just call it and say, you know what, I've tried for the past hour, I haven't gotten anywhere, it's just not worth it. Let's just reset and get ready for the next one.
Yeah, I do like the out there's comment. He said, you guys please me even when you're wrong. So I'm guessing he obviously thinks that happens quite often. So there we go. But a nice little battle with Craig Pullen down here. He one of the closest battles in the top 15, 16 at the moment with Craig Pullen and Norm Graff as they're battling away quite nicely as well. I'm trying to see if there's any other battles that are really materialising. And the only other one that's looking remotely close is Wayne Galvin. He's got Joe Wilkes in front of him. They're getting a little bit close there, both people in the Ford Mustang. But apart from that, not a lot is going on apart from this Craig Pullen and Norm Graff battle.
Yeah, and this Pullen and Graff battle is just going to continue to just develop as the race goes. We're heading 30 minutes to go, and with 30 minutes to go, we're nearing the final hypercar pit stops. And at that point, that's when the gloves are going to come off. That's when things are going to get real crazy, and I'm kind of excited for it. I'm excited to see where these hypercar pit stops land things, how the intervals shape up, because that's where things are going to go through. Ernest Bernaldo and Dinu here are just continuing to run. They're both in Porsche 963s, which have been pretty comfortable through this whole race and have been just very consistent here with 31 minutes to go. And you can see that, I mean, they're just pushing at this point. They're trying to get everything out of that car they can before the final pit stops here.
Yeah, definitely as well. You're going to have to use this pit stop cycle, this one, to at least just go for it here as well. And they are going for it currently these guys once more. So Dino and Bernardo, and you've got Joe Wilkes, sorry, not Joe Wilkes, he was the exercise guy during COVID over in the UK, and Galvin going for it as well. I'm sure Paul remembers waking up to Joe Wilkes every morning.
I'm not going to wait for Paul's response in my ear because I don't know who that is, and I kind of don't know that I want to know. COVID is one of those things that I don't want to think about sometimes.
Oh, he was again. Come on, let's look. It happened. It was what it was. It took place, and everybody had dealt with it. But Joe was a guy who basically come onto the British television screens, burst onto the scenes, and did exercises for kids every morning, like a PE lesson as such for the children to get them up and running, ready for doing home learning. So that was it basically. And me and my family would often join in and be doing push-ups and stuff during some mornings. It was quite funny there as well. Felipe, no idea what that says in YouTube chat there, buddy. Unless it's in English, I will not be able to read that one. So unfortunately for Felipe, I'm going to say Portuguese possibly there. Yeah, can't read that one. So there we go. Craig Pullen and Benjamin Portier, yes, Heath a nose to tail as well. And they're still running in 3rd and 4th in the Hypercar AMS at the moment here, Brad.
Yeah, I did a quick translate there of what Philippe said, and Google says that that's Portuguese for the overall leader explodes too, or is it just me? So, looks like maybe something weird happening up at the front of the field that I'm not aware of, but I don't see anything questionable. So, Philippe, I think we're okay at the moment.
Well, yeah, nothing going on. I can see Kirby's still 9 seconds up the road, so he's still doing a stellar job, is Kirby. So, yeah, it is what it is on that one.
Yeah, I think Kirby at this point just needs to kind of settle down and just run his own race. He's got a 10-second gap behind Bernardo, and Kirby is really just in control of this race. And as long as Kirby can hold on for the final 28 minutes, I'm sure we'll be talking to Daniel Kirby here in about 35 minutes time, we'll call it.
Yeah, I think Dan Kirby will be the winner. I'll also be looking in the Hypercar AMS. Jerry Chen doing a great job as well. We can give you a quick, obviously, rundown of the top 6. You see them on the left-hand side anyway. But Kirby, Bernardo, Dino Herlock, Lane and Barker are there as well. Kirby, stellar job, just got straight out in front. He took the place at the beginning. Boom, see you later, take care, adios. So off he went there as well. In the Hypercar AMS, it's Chen, Angelides, Portiosif, Craig Pullen and Norgraf, and then John Mayer back further from that one. In the LMGT3s, we got JT Tammy, David Jun, Rice, Gutierrez, Wilkes and Galvin as they're battling away there. And then it's Boyce, Miller Boyce in the GT3 AMS with LaPetri and Bowders is in the pit. So, yeah, a lot still happening. It looks like we've lost Snowden. It looks like we've lost Ely. It looks like we lost Kataranakis, Monet, Marazzi and Donald Hunter. So I think we are 6 cars to the good here. And nobody really any closer than what they were about 5 minutes ago, bro.
Yeah, the first 10 or 15 minutes of this race told me it was going to be a very, very close run and very, very close competitive racing. And now we're 27 minutes to go, and other than, a couple of pockets here and there throughout the field, like, everyone's spread out quite a bit, which is kind of surprising to me. It wasn't what I expected. So, Qatar producing Qatar-style content yet again. And you know what, James? I'm going to introduce a bit of Qatar trivia.
Okay, go for it.
What is the elevation change across this circuit?
0. It looks flatter than a
You're
pancake.
correct.
It's flatter than a pancake. There's nothing. There is physically nothing here. It is where you can see, look, and earlier on, I think it was Mr. Reese said this track just looks pale, and it is. It is. For us to sit here with 26 minutes to go and go, right, Kirby's won the Hypercars, Chen's won the Hypercar AMS, Tammy's probably going to win the GT3s, and Boyce is going to win the GT3 AMS. Thank you very much for turning up. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on the bells. And good night, because that's what we're going to witness. No, it's just happening at the moment as they're once more with Tom Lane and Cameron Barker. scrapping out as they're going side by side down into turn 1 at the moment there as well. Lane trying in that number 6 to go rounding outside. He's not going to get through. I think Parker's going to hang on. He's going to go now side by side into the next segment here as well. Turn 2 and then up through 3. And Tom Lane, no, yes, Tom Lane does make it through there eventually. But again, I'm sure that Parker will look at coming back to him.
Yeah, I don't think that Cameron Barker is going to let this one go. I think he'll settle in for a minute, kind of hold on, recharge a little bit, but it's going to be pressure yet again. Once they get through the middle sector, third sector of this track, I think Tom Lane will be under pressure yet again from Barker. We've got Graf and Mayer here that are battling as well. This is for Hypercar and P3 that will continue to watch this battle develop. This is going to be between a Porsche and a Cadillac. Down the bottom right, we'll keep that Tom Lane, Cameron Barker battle open because they're starting to go through a little bit of the GT3 traffic and go around. You can see the GT3 giving as much space as possible and doing a good job of trying to just not be in the middle of that battle as we go around here, and they are going to continue to put pressure, and that is going to be Lane, who is still under pressure from Barker and just holding on. But to answer the question, depending on where you look, I've seen two answers. I've seen one that it's immeasurable and not measured because it's insignificant on the elevation change. The second one, I've seen 45 feet reported. Across the entire 3 1/3 mile circuit, there's 45 feet of elevation change.
Well, Tom Lane and Barker just going past one of the back markers there. They're still neck and neck. And again, once more for Barker is doing a stellar job. Tom Lane in front of that as well. I believe that could have possibly been Angelidis behind in the blue Acura there, if I'm not mistaken. No, Angelidis is in the pits, and Myers just taking the lead in Hypercar AMS. This is when we're expecting that final pit stop, right?
Yeah, this is where the Hypercars need to pit in. We were told about every 23 minutes, 25 minutes was where it would be at. So this is, if they're timing things right, this is where this last pit stop needs to happen. And V out there's in YouTube chat has a good question for you. What's the deal with the Triple Buses double or 077s?
Okay, so we've got, now I've got to remember which way round this is because I'm sure I got this wrong last time as well. We have got Matthew in the 28. We've got Mike, who I believe is dad. And then we've got Stephen, I think is the son of Mike. And Matthew's the son of Mike as well. But I'm not 100% because I can't remember if Stephen is the uncle or Matthew's the son of Mike. It's something like that anyway.
Yeah, it's a big family affair, which is really cool to see. I'm not going to lie. I think it's really cool to see all the family together here, running through. And here we go. Lane and Barker still trying to get through and go around some lap traffic. Go through. They get through. It's the yellow Mustang, and no issues there. And now we just run. Who's in the pits? And nobody's in the pits yet, James.
Bernardo's in the pits at the moment in the Hypercars. Bernardo is in the pits there. He's sitting in P4 in the Hypercars. His lap LMGT3s are down. There's only GT3 AMS. There's no real battles materializing on the track at the moment. Tom Lane obviously down in the GT3s. We got Wilkes and Galvin. They're about 0.7 seconds back there as well. I think they've been backwards and forwards and sit behind each other for a while here, Brad, but that could probably happen within the racing as well.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of they are running their race. They're not doing anything crazy. They're just trying to get through. I'm sure that they're playing a little bit of fuel conservation because the GT3s don't want to have to pit again. So I'm sure that none of them want to do anything too drastic, too crazy as we go through. And Mike Buse putting in a 1:58.855, best time for the GT3 AMS. Meanwhile, Hypercars are running about 1:43.8 is Dinu, who has the fastest lap in the GT3, or in the Hypercar class.
Bernardo is out in the pits. He come out in 7th place. So for him, unfortunately, he's dropped down the order. And we can still see the Barker and Lane battle as they're scrapping along here as well. Not very far apart, 1/10 at the moment away from each other here again. So Tom Lane in the front with the red bonnet. as well. I believe no, Barker's in the front, and Tom Lane's in the back in the purple machine. So yeah, these guys still battling out. 20 minutes to go here, Brad. What do we think is going to happen?
I think this is going to go through. Penalty coming up for Graf. I'll see if I can figure out exactly what that's for. But 20 minutes left to go. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with 20 minutes to go. And Paul in the ear giving me the feedback that Graf is probably for speeding in the pits. We'll see if we can confirm that as we go. But that would not surprise me because he was in and out of the pits. And yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, which is not what you want to do here. This track is so short, that's one of those things that you don't want to do.
Definitely not as well. And there is obviously a pit lane speeding limiter button. Looks like we may have just lost Adam Gray. I think Adam Gray's on a DNF. Can't exactly see what's happened to him. And Jascha Schmidt also looks like he's had a DNF as well, but Jascha did go off the side of the circuit, and there was a free turn battle there as well with Jascha Schmidt. So unfortunately that was what was happening with him. Unfortunately there was cars. Jascha missed his braking point and ended up careering into the cars in front of him. So yeah, unfortunately for him, not an ideal scenario. You see there with Wilkes and Galvin also having a moment again. And he has got through as Galvin over Wilkes. So yeah, still a battle down here in the GT3s currently. That's for 4th and 5th. But as you can see from the gaps on the left-hand side, everything else is a bit spread out here, Brad, going into the last 19 minutes.
Yeah, it is. We get the replay here of the moment that just happened with the Mustangs. I mean, it was very hairy there. I don't know what happened exactly. I kind of missed it for a second. But coming out of the final corner here, you can see the Mustangs giving a run. Corvette behind, and that is the pink. Is that an Acura ahead? I believe it is. And now it's down the main straight. They go through, and Slipstream, surprisingly in the GT3s, was very strong. And the teammates here working together, pull around, go 3 wide. They can't decide who's going where, and then it's just no braking zone to be found. Downshift through, and I mean, how nobody wrecked, I don't know. That's luck as much as it is skill.
Yeah, it is. I would like to inform you that it's Ross Smith in the Ferrari in the pink in front. So Ross Smith is in that Ferrari in that pink liveried machine. Is just trying to have a look through and see what else is going on. But it looks like so De Bruin and Barker are coming out of the pits there as well. You can see the pit lane times on the left-hand side. So unfortunately they're going to drop down in the order. That's going to allow Bernardo to grab a couple of more positions as he's sitting in 5th at the moment here, Brad.
Yeah, but I think Bernardo needs to pit again, if I'm not mistaken. I have to
He's
double
just got
check
in.
myself here. Yeah, so there we go. Bernardo's into the pits. So that's going to be... we'll see. I think De Bruin can catch up there. It's just over a second, 2 seconds. So I think De Bruin can start to put some pressure here with 17 minutes to go. Probably move his way up into 5th place.
Our leader's had an issue. The racetrack's going to the right, and Kirby, unfortunately at the moment, what I'm looking at is going to the left. So I don't know what happened to Kirby, but he got that all wrong. I'm wondering if he missed the pit lane exit, because he is driving back the wrong way on the circuit to make the pit lane exit. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a penalty coming for Kirby as he's trying to make his way into the pits. He misses the exit, he goes off to the left-hand side, and then he starts driving out the wrong way and then dives into the pit lane. So I think that could be a penalty for Daniel Kirby.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you throw a race away. This is how you lose a race. In 3 simple steps, I can teach you how to be a race winner down in the last place. That has to be a miscalculated fuel moment, because Kirby's now into the pits. Down in 3rd, Lane is in, and I have a feeling that Daniel Kirby is about to have a very, very, very tough conversation with some stewards in the VWSC that are not going to take kindly to driving the wrong way on a live circuit.
No, definitely not. And I think even in game doesn't take too kindly either, because I do remember, as I did when I said to you at the top of the show, that I ended up going the wrong way. I ended up getting DQ'd, I think it was, from qualifying for driving the wrong way. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kirby does. No penalty as of yet, but that's very surprising, as Bernardo and De Bruin are battling away on your screen as well. Bernardo moving it up once more, sitting in 5th place at the moment. It's a great action from Bernardo as he's trying to recover his way through. We think there's still more pits out there. I don't know what that was. Felipe, Mr. Reese has gone what the in YouTube. Felipe's gone rare, and the out there has gone question mark, question mark, question mark. So I can't really answer that, just apart from the fact that he ran out of fuel and he wasn't going to make it another lap. Oh, Bernardo's just had an incident as well, unfortunately for him. So Bernardo's just made a mistake there as well. So Ernest Bernardo, not an ideal scenario, drops down to 7th place now, loses 2 places.
Yeah, I think we called it a little too soon saying Daniel Kirby had the race win through. As we're going to get a replay here, and this is not what you want to do there if you're a Hypercar and a GT3.
No, traffic playing a big part coming in. Comes across, as we can see there, and then with 15 minutes remaining, it's going to be very, very interesting. So let's see how it pans out. We thought we had it wrapped up. Herlock's into the pits as well with 14 minutes on the clock. So Dan Herlock into the pits here again.
Yeah, Herlock into the pits, going through. This really just made this race a little bit spicier. This actually added some action here. With 14 and a half minutes left to go here, Chen seems to be in a very comfortable lead there in the Hypercar AMS with an 18-second gap ahead, but I think Chen still needs to pit again, if I'm not wrong. I might be wrong on that, though. Don't quote me. No, Chen has done 3 pit stops. Mayer still needs to pit, though. So Chen is in a very dominant lead there in Hypercar AMS. I mean, that is a 45-second lead, essentially, on Angelitas.
Yeah, definitely. So Chen there should be able to wrap up the Hypercar AMS. JT Tammy in the GT3s has got a 33-second gap, and it is Matthew Boyce winning the GT3 AMS. But it's whether or not, what's the situation at the front? Does Dino have to go in again as Kirby has cleared Herlock, because Herlock went into the pits? So it's down to whether or not Mikhail Dinu has got to go in as well. So, yeah, we'll be interested to see what happens with Dinu and whether or not he's going to take the win as he's set the fastest lap on a race on a 1:43.869 at the moment.
Yeah, I'm showing Dinu has done 3 pit stops, has fastest lap. I mean, at this point, it's just be comfortable and be consistent. Don't make any mistakes for 13 minutes at the end of a 100-minute race, which, again, I can say that, and it's easy for me to say that. It's another thing to watch the drivers do it, because we said Kirby had the race on lock, and then, well, we saw what happened with that. There's the CA of, I believe that is one of the Buses that is trying to stay out of the way of the Hypercars, doing a fairly good job of doing so here, because this De Bruin and Tom Lane battle is shaping up very, very nicely for P4 overall.
Tom Lane and De Bruin, 12 minutes on the clock to go. Mayo is into the pits, and should give Chen an insurmountable lead in the Hypercar AMS there. So Jerry Chen should wrap that one up, as Lane and De Bruin still going at it, coming down into turn 1. There, the right-hander with Barker is not too far back. He's 1.2 seconds back at the moment, Brad. Could it possibly a three-way fight, do we think?
I think it could be. I think it could even be, if you look at kind of the gaps here, you know, Kirby's not that far up the road from Herlock, so depending on how things shape up, if Kirby has any little moment, you could end up with a 5-way battle.
We could, and then it's going to definitely get a little bit chaotic with 5 drivers battling it out on the racetrack. So, yeah, let's see how this one pans out again here in the Hypercar category with 12 minutes on the clock. Chen's come out. He's got a 49-second gap over Angelidis. Tammy with a 34. Matthew with an 11 over Mike down in the GT3 AMS here as well. So I'm still sure that this one isn't over and done with, Brad, but it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, 11 and a half minutes to go, and I think that it's anyone's guess at this point who lands where. And even, again, you don't know where anyone is at until the checkered flag flies. We said with 30 minutes to go, yeah, Kirby's got this on lock, and now look at this, Dinu's got a 31-second lead. So everybody grab some popcorn, grab something to eat, grab something to drink. Settle in. Don't change your YouTube station anywhere. As James always says, like, subscribe, hit the bells, all of the fun things that you do on YouTube. But stick around for the next 11 minutes and see just how this action lands. It could be 11 minutes of just laps. It could be 11 minutes of chaos. Nobody really knows what is going to happen. So just settle in, kind of hang out for a bit, and I think this will be some good action here. Lane trying to find a dive here on Herlock, if possible, but not able to do it into turn 1.
Yeah, Tom Lane there not being able to get through on Dan Herlock. He is still trying, but I don't think he's going to manage it through here. So let's find out what goes on with Dan Herlock and Tom Lane as they're continuing their fight. One of the GT3s getting out of the way there in the background. Last 10 minutes to go. It looks like McCoffin, Concalves and Herlock has been off the side of the circuit. Herlock is still running, so whether or not he just touched the curb and it registered as an off track there is one thing for Dan Herlock. So let's see what happens again here as these guys carry on scrapping as they are.
Yeah, and in 3, 2, 1, we've officially hit 10 minutes remaining. There's the 10 minutes remaining banner. So now the drivers need to just send it. There's nothing to save here. There's nothing to go. If you haven't saved enough fuel now, you're in trouble. If you haven't kept things together, you're in trouble. So at this point, you need to just use the rest of the tires, the rest of the fuel. There's no sense in trying to hold the car together. Just, you've held on for 90 minutes. Give 10 good minutes more to the end. That's all you can ask for. But as we watch through, again, Daniel Kirby starting to close the gap on Dinu, but with 10 minutes to go, I don't think there's enough time there for anything. But Herlock, Lane, De Bruin, and Barker, that 4-way battle for P3 that's starting to open up. You can see them all on your screen now. I think that's really where the action is going to land here with 9 minutes to go now.
Yeah, 9 minutes on the clock. Dan Herlock, Tom Lane battling out there. As Herlock's in the Lamborghini, Lane in the Porsche 963. That's one of the back markers getting themselves out the way there, which is great to see. Cameron Barker is not far behind this battle here as well. Neither is Wouter De Bruin. So we could end up with a nice little tasty 4-way coming into the final 8.5 minutes as these guys battle it away on this very flat, very interesting circuit as Lane goes up the inside now as well around the double right-hander of turn 5. Is he going to be able to make it through, Tom Lane? He's trying hard. Herlock's got the inside for 6. He's still going to run him out. And then we've got Barker and De Bruin behind that as they're on their run down into 7. 2 wide, 2 deep here, Brad. This is getting spicy for that third and final podium.
Yeah, 2x2 for third place. Who thought we'd be there with 8 minutes to go? We started at the top of the broadcast saying that we think Qatar is boring and that Qatar doesn't produce good racing. But here it is, VWSC giving us some good action as we've got 5 hypercars in the mix. And there it is, recollecting, going around. That is going to be, who is that all has spun? That's several cars that have spun and gone off. But there it is, De Bruin, Barker, Lane, and De Bruin's up into third now. Bernaldo in 6th. I mean, oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say to that because
oh my God. That was Gwilym Benk. If you go back to Gwilym Benk, Mr. Producer, sir, you will see him go very wide. There he is on the right-hand side. Then he comes onto the track and just crashes into the guys around him. That's Lane Herlock. A Benk all off the side of the circuit. And Gwilym Benk, that was not a good rejoin whatsoever.
Oh, Gwilym Benk is going to have a lot of mad people coming at him after that. Currently is down P20 overall in the Hypercar AMs. Yeah, another replay here. Here it is with Gwilym Benk in the Cadillac going around, comes through. You can see eats the curb, goes wide. The car doesn't like it, and then just I don't understand what that rejoin was. Comes around and just collects that entire battle for P3 overall. I mean, there's no words. There's nothing to say back to that. What in the world?
I don't know. I think he's either had just a complete and utter brain fart as Gwilym Benk, and it's just he was just trying to get back on track quick enough. But I can't answer what he's been up to there, Brad, apart from the fact that that was terrible.
That was man, that was painful. That's one of those that yeah, you're gonna have some mad drivers, you're gonna have some mad stewards. You probably don't want to stick around post race, and you probably don't want to check your DMs for a day or two. But
No.
that is how quickly things can change here. That's just that's the nature of racing. I hate it, but man.
But that has put Walter de Bruin in third place. So Walter de Bruin there in third place currently. As you can just see here, the car come back on. Yeah, we got on board, and you can just see the returning car very, very shortly, and then it just, well.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep an eye on this replay here, Brad. You'll be able to see MEC in a minute, and it just goes all a little bit wrong for him. Not entirely sure what he was up to, but whatever it was, it didn't go down too well.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing too with the hypercars, like, and I'm sure someone out there will be looking and saying, like, you know, why didn't they try to avoid him? You can't see him. Like, we have a very good view of what was going on, but in the moment, they had no way to know. They had no way to do anything to avoid that. So for those drivers, I mean, it was completely unavoidable. There was nothing they could do there.
And the problem is they were racing in so close proximity with each other. There was no way that you could possibly look at saying, well, dude, that's, you know, his fault. Or there was no way of getting out the way. You know, you can see MEC just got it all wrong. And I weren't even sure why he felt the need to come back on in such a hurry. He was behind these guys as well, and it just goes on a little bit wrong there for MEC. But Walter de Bruin and Barker for the third place spot at the moment, having a battle as de Bruin just runs a little bit wide, and Barker goes on here as well. So great action from these guys, still materializing as always.
Yeah, the guys are still battling here, but you can see this is where that battle started on turn 1. This is where all of that action picked up. You can see just ahead there is really where it happens. I mean, gosh, I'm still held on to that, but still lots of good battles on track though. 3 minutes 45 seconds left to go in the race, but I mean that essentially opened up our P3 battle all the way through and just kind of took away some of that really good action at the front. But here is going to be the moment, if you stick with us just a moment as we're coming around the corners. You can see this hypercar battle is 2x2. The guys are keeping plenty of good space, just holding on, doing everything they can to keep this battle going. And then just look ahead, because you can see ahead the off that happens. I mean, I don't have words. Here it is. I mean, there's no reaction. There's no reason to think he was going to rejoin. But good avoiding there. Good avoidance there at the end.
Yeah, not entirely sure what MEC was up to, I've got to be honest. Dino is coming round the final corner, 2 minute 50 on the clock. He's going to have one and one more, I believe, as well. But that battle for third place, Barker, de Bruin and Lane still scrapping it out, and barely a second between them there as well. I think this will be his last race. I don't know if it will be his last race, but I feel that this might be his last one for a month or so, I reckon, because I don't think he'll be able to carry this on after, considering what he just did there.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those that I don't want to be the one making the decision on where he lands and what happens, because the thing is, this league, when I look at the sign-up sheets, I look at everything, and I look at the driver's briefing, it's a very clear, they're very strict and clear on the gentleman's rule and on the using common sense for everything that you do on track, being polite with other drivers and having good driving standards. And that is one of those things that's just poor driving standards in general. So I don't think that is going to be, I don't think this will be his last race in VWSC. I do think he's not going to like what comes his way.
No, I fully agree. I don't think the penalty given out is something that MEC may enjoy, should we say, as Dino is nearly on to the final lap. I believe he's coming around turn 12, 13 and 14 at the moment. So Mikel Dino there round turn 14 he goes. He's going to have one more lap to go, and then we will be wrapping this one up. Round 15 into 16 here, as we just flick to a replay. And this is Wouter de Bruin, unfortunately, as well. De Bruin's dropped down to 5th, just gets it all a little bit wrong. Snaps the car, and then Locke also not far a bit. Yeah, we think he may have just gone there as well. Dino's started the final lap of the race. He's coming down into turn 1, and it looks like Mikel Dino should take the win here in the hypercars, with Chen in the AMs, Tammy in the GT3s, and then possibly Matthew or Mike. But they're very close together at the moment. They're about 1.1 away from each other, and they can see each other here as well. So the Buse is still having a good old battle as well.
You know, this is the fun and the painful side of racing, because if you think about what we said with about 30 minutes to go, we said, oh, Kirby's got it wrapped up, no questions, no issues. And then Kirby's in P2 from a small error, but a good recovery into P2. Tammy is nice and comfortable there. Chen is up and comfortable and ran through. Angelitas is in P3. And then, of course, the GT3 AMs, it's a toss-up. It's going to be one of the family members wins.
Yeah, I think so.
Which one?
Don't know. Can't answer that, but Dino is not got very far left here as well. He's got a few more corners. I think he's on his way out of turn 10, I believe, before he goes up into 11, sweeps around into the double or the triple right-hander of 12, then goes through 13, and this is Dino's run down to the line. This is going to go into 14 there before he comes round to the left-hander of 15. He's got one more corner to take, and it looks like Mikel Dino is going to wrap the win up. Past the pit lane exit he goes. That's Ross Smith in front of him in that in that pink Ferrari. But Mikel Dino going to wrap this one up. He's going to come over the line. He's going to take the victory here in round 2. Ross slows down. He decides he don't want to have to go another lap. And it is Mikel Dino wraps it up. He comes over the line, and a great job from him. Daniel Kirby's going to get that second place. And it looks like Barker has got a far enough lead to take third over Tom Lane, who looks like he's going to stay in front of Wouter de Bruin. He is at the moment. So, yeah, great job from him. Jerry Chen just coming over the line. He's wrapping up the AM fight with the LMGT3 of JT Tammy, who's got one more corner. No, he's actually got 2 more corners to go before he wins the GT3s. So Barker and Lane on that run down to the line. It does look like Barker's going to get it. He does do there as well. So Barker goes through and takes third place. JT Tammy comes over the line, wrapping up the GT3s. So great job from him. And what about the Buses? Well, it's Matthew at the moment with a 3-second lead over Mike currently as well. And Matthew hasn't got very long left on the race circuit either here.
Yeah, so overall, very, very good racing from everyone as we see the Buses finishing things up and going through their final moments. We're watching Wilkes come around and Galvin bringing it through and around, so they are nice and comfortable there as well, and just trying to run through final laps here, and everybody just very, very thankful to survive 100 minutes here at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. Round 2 of VWSC is wrapping up. Pretty nice race overall. Some highs, some lows, some what in the world is going on. And James, I'm fairly happy with it.
Yeah, I do fully agree. I think it's been a good race. It had a lull moment in the middle, didn't it? And I think that's the thing there. There was a lull period for the racing. So let's get on and see if we can do the results once more here as well. And I'll be able to bring you up the results currently at the moment. There's a slight issue there at the moment. Can't see anything staring at the Hypercar interview screen. The winner interview screen is on, so unfortunately can't bring right, so Mikael Dinu is your winner with Dan Kirby in second. Cameron Barker wraps up the third. Tom Lane, Wouter de Bruin fourth and fifth, with Ernest Bernardino in sixth, McCoffin in seventh. Jerry Chen wins the Hypercar AMS in eighth. Magnus Dahlgren and Dan Herlock round out the top 10. On from that one, if we can there as well, we will be going on to 11th place, which is Alexander Schultz. Then you've got John Uyan and John Meyer with George Angelides rounding out the AMs. Craig Pullen, Mika Lock, Norm Graff, Luke Goodlife, Benjamin Portier-Seif and Gwilym Benk, who I'm sure might have a penalty coming. On from that one, we've got Vinicius Concalves with Benjamin Portier-Seif, Gwilym Benk there at the bottom, and then we've got Timan Suvic, I believe, should be after that one. There he is, Concalves and Suvic, and then Peter Stefani below that one. Then we go into the GT3s. JT Tammy does win with David Junt and Joe Wilkes, who does finish ahead of Wayne Galvin. Then we've got Matthew Buse with Mike Buse in the GT3 AMS, with Adrian Rice rounding out the top 30. So on from that one, we will be able to see there as well. Coming up currently at the moment in 31st place is Johnny Gutierrez and Stephen Buse, Brandon Gant, Stephen Miller, Ross Smith, Gilles Lalonde, Josh Lepetri, Becky Ely, James Bowders, and then Jascha Schmidt, who did not finish. He didn't finish along with a few others, which included Adam Gray, William Snowden, Vasilis Kataranakis, Eric Monet, Filippo Marazzi, and Donald Hunter is the last of the finishers on that one. We've got some interviews waiting for us as well, and let's have a look. We're going to have a chat with the GT3 winner at the moment is JT Tammy here. JT led from the front. He managed to take the victory by a very comfortable margin. He was just on a Sunday drive around Qatar on a Saturday. Let's welcome him in. GT Tammy, welcome in, buddy.
Hello, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Tired.
All right. What was the circuit like? Because it was explained as boring. We had an opinion. It was flat. It was flatter than my walls. It was just, it did seem to have a lot to it, this circuit this evening.
No, it's pretty bland and repetitive. There's a little bit of a flow through it, but it's easy to get out of. I didn't start to actually like it until qualifying, where I could just push hard. Then it felt a bit more like a go-kart track.
Yeah, it was originally designed for motorbikes. Do you think maybe this was a course that could have been substituted in, do we think?
I mean, yeah, but blame the FIA.
Well, yeah, I do blame them, to be honest. I blame George as well, but don't tell George I blame him as well, because otherwise I will be in trouble.
I blame him for a lot of things. We're good.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. He should have just substituted this circuit out. You're right. It was very bland and boring. But overall for you, not a good evening. You know, it was a good evening of racing for you, and one you can build on going forward.
I certainly hope so. It was definitely a different strategy than I'm used to doing, and it really benefited at this kind of track. I benefited more for the hypercar that hit Becky, unfortunately. They were quite a menace tonight. Quite a few contacts with them. So it will be interesting to see.
Yeah,
in the seat, it's horrible.
Yeah, we did see, and I did start ranting about it, to be honest with you. I think, do you know what, JT, that at the end of the day, it was both ways tonight from our perspective. There was GTs that really should not have been where they should have been on the racetrack at the moment of trying to manage traffic. There was hypercars that, again, were diving like an Olympic diver, trying to take the win there. And they weren't facilitated, let's just put it that way. And I think there's a lot to look at if there is going to be penalties. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. For you, though, coming into this race third in the championship, got a nice little bound of points at the moment. That's going to start moving you back up, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly hope so. I like Sebring, so it's good momentum going into the next race, and hopefully, we can really keep that momentum going as the season goes through.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Well, JT, thanks so much for joining us there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
Thanks to CMS, George, Storm Gang, everybody involved with the mod, the tracks, you guys for doing this broadcast, especially coming out here, taking care of us like this. Alex King for helping out, pay for this, and it's a blast every weekend. Despite some of the stuff on track, we keep coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, JT, thanks so much for joining us there, buddy, and a great job from you. So take care, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Right, next up, we will bring in Matt. Matt did win the GT3 scenario. Matt, welcome into the booth, buddy. How are you?
I'm a little sweaty and tired, but otherwise doing great.
Okay, help us out here, Matt. We had you, Mike, and Stephen. Which way round is it? Because I think I got it wrong in the broadcast. Who's who in that one? Are you all brothers, should we say?
We are, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. So they're all brothers, YouTube chat as well. Sorry. I got asked earlier on, and I couldn't remember if one was the dad and the uncle, to be honest with you, Mike. I got all a little bit confused. How was it for you out there? You took the AM win by quite a comfortable margin. How was it overall for you out there on track?
Well, the car, it was a little iffy in practice and getting the thing set up, but then once we got out onto the track, it just came together and it was fast. The hardest part was just keeping an eye on the mirrors and an eye in front of us.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? How was it managing the traffic? Because we did see some very precarious moves from both classes this evening. There wasn't one that stood out more than the other. So how was it for you out there dealing with the traffic?
I got a few unfortunate shunts from some overeager hypercars, but otherwise attacking my own class and the GTs, actually a surprisingly clean race.
Okay, mate. Well, going forward, what's the plan, Matt? Where do we see you going? You're coming into this race. You were in fourth. Nice little bunch of points there should get you further up. What's the plan for the season for you?
Oh, I'm thrilled with that. I just hope that the Corvette does as well at the rest of the tracks going forward as it did here. I know a lot of people didn't like this track, but it played in our favor big time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
Nope, just you all in the booth for keeping this thing going, and the folks behind the scenes. It was a great race. Thanks everybody for the race.
All right, man. Take care, Matt, and we'll look forward to having a chat with you as the season goes on.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Next up in the booth is the Hypercar AM winner, Mr. Jerry Chen. He went on a Sunday drive on a Saturday. He took the win by quite a long margin. Jerry, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, that was a good race. Just managing traffic because there was cars everywhere, just kind of like the historic race last week. But yeah, I think that's the last track that the Porsche 963 is going to be good at. So I wanted to take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. You might as well go for it and get some points on the board there as well. How was it out there managing the traffic? Because it was a close one.
It was good. I didn't see anybody doing anything crazy. I didn't have any issues with any GT3s. I did have one slide off running wide at turn 1 because I got a little target focused on a GT3, but that was my fault. But yeah, I mean, 100 minutes, I didn't have any problems. Everybody looked pretty good from my perspective, and even the GT3 pros were pretty courteous, letting hypercars through, so it was good.
To be honest with you there, Jerry, you must have had a different race to what I've watched.
Probably. I was alone for most of the race, so I could be patient. I could see how some of the hypercar pros up front were dicing it out.
Well, they were dicing it out. GT3s and hypercars were sticking themselves in positions that we really don't wish to see again. To be honest, I'm sure there's some penalties coming as well for certain drivers. But overall, it was a good race for you. You got points on the board. Coming in into 6th. Hopefully, you see yourself a little bit further up after this race as well. Jerry, much love for joining us, everybody. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Nope. Thanks, guys, for the broadcast.
Okay, mate. Well, take care, buddy, and we'll see how you get on as the season goes on.
All right, thanks.
Next up, we will chat to the Hypercar Pro winner, Dinu, who took the win there after Dan Kirby made can what only be described as a mistake that I've never ever seen before in a broadcast, completely missing the pit lane. Dinu capitalized. He went in, he took it, and he come out in front. But let's have a chat with Dinu and see how he got on. Mikhail, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Hello, I'm feeling great.
I bet you are, son. It was a good win, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know what happened exactly, but I take it and I'm just speechless.
Well, I can tell you what happened, buddy. Dan Kirby missed his pit box, drove up the racetrack the wrong way to get into the pit lane, and then you just did a pit stop at the right time and capitalised on his mistake, to be fair. But, you know, hey, if you're not on the racetrack at the time these people make the mistake, buddy, you're not going to take the win, are you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to take it anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And a stunning job from you as well. How did you like the racing out here tonight?
Well, at first, I was a bit skeptical, especially because I had to drive through at the beginning and I thought my race was going to be over. But yeah, as the time went by, the pace was there. I was overtaking cars after cars, and in the end, I don't know how, but I managed to get P1. So yeah, just amazed, speechless, as I said.
Yeah, well, it was an incredible job there as well. Gives you a nice set of points going forward from your 17 you are coming in. So it'd be interesting to see where you pan out there, Mikhail, as well. Going forward, though, buddy, what's the ambitions for the season?
Well, try to replicate what we did today and move forward and maybe, yeah, be even more dominant if that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see how you get on there, bud. And congratulations on your victory. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
Well, I want to thank the team, obviously, because they did an amazing job to prepare me for the race, to help me with the setup, also give me some tips, etc. It was just amazing from them, and yeah, just happy. So
Yeah, well,
especially a big shout out to my team, Aerolab.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome job, Mikhail. Thanks so much for joining us there, buddy, and look forward to seeing how you get on.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya. Well, there you go, Brad. That's going to wrap out tonight's broadcasting here, buddy. Qatar, different type of circuit that I don't really wish to repeat. I've got to be honest. I did not know for me on the circuit. But going forward, we've got some great circuits coming up.
Yeah, of course, the historic series coming up in just a couple weeks is going to Sebring. And then from there, we'll take the modern series over to Sebring. And Sebring is a track that I like, and I think it's going to produce some very, very good action, especially with the way these guys drive and the action coming up. So looking ahead is going to be very, very good. Unfortunately, you have to wait at least 2 weeks to see the historics there. It's a month before the moderns get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us as well. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bells here. That would be absolutely amazing, whether you're on the CMS or the JPB Broadcasting YouTube channel as well. But it's been a pleasure to race at Qatar. Stay tuned. We've got plenty more racing coming up on both channels this week as well, and a lot more racing coming up for JBB in the morning there as well. But I've been James Parfitt. I've been alongside Bradley Dalton. I've had Paul Glover in the booth with me. But for now, guys, as always, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.